Are you spending time trying to find leads for your team? I spoke with Josh Anderson. He is with the Anderson Group Real Estate Services of Keller Williams in Nashville, Tennessee. He's also ranked number 13 small teams by sides, transaction sides in Nashville, Tennessee. And he spends up to 5 hours every day calling people, texting people, and on his lead generation. We had a great conversation about how the basics are boring, but if you can just keep consistent with them, your business will skyrocket. So enjoy the podcast and all of the advice that Josh has for you. Josh, welcome to the Real Trending podcast.
Thanks, Tracey, for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we're gonna go back in time a little bit. So you built one of Nashville's top performing teams. What were some of the pivotal strategies that you kind of helped you scale from a solo agent to a team? And tell me how many people you have on your team now.
Yeah, so we have 12 agents and admin on our team. So we're not a super big team. We're probably kind of admin heavy just because of how much of our business comes from past clients and referrals and agent referral partners around the country. So pivotal moments, I'd say there's probably a handful of big pivotal moments in my business. One being, when I got in the business, I didn't realize it, but I joined Keller Williams Realty and I did everything that the Red Book said to do to a T. Primarily, not because I'm a good student, but primarily because I didn't have any money, and I wasn't particularly great at at time management at the time. But I did 3 or 4 or 5 hours worth of lead generation every day, and then I did lots of networking and a lot of open houses of listings that weren't mine. And then, probably the next 2 big things was, as soon as I could, I hired an administrative person from a leverage perspective, because I realized after transaction number 1 that I was not good at paperwork. It's not my strong suit. And then I hired a buyer's agent maybe a year and a half later. And then a year and a half or so after that, which was like September of 2011, I got back from Mega Camp in Austin, Texas, and we implemented this thing called the showing agent model, which nobody really knew what to expect or how to do it. And after fumbling around a little bit, we ended up doing really well and crushing it that year. We did like 110 transactions with one buyer's agent and a showing agent.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, it just goes to show you that if you have a plan and you follow that plan, that's a lot of lead gen. You did like 5 hours a day, you said?
Yeah, I started at like 2.5. And then it was like, as we went through 2007, 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, I was adding more and more because Gary Keller was like, you have to, it's a different market. You got to lead gen more. And so 3 years in, I started getting lots of referrals and I was like, oh crap, I need help. Like I need admin help and I need another agent to help close these deals. So.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think he said that at his last mega camp too, that it's all about lead gen, right?
He's been saying the same thing for about 20 years now. At least I've been in the business for 20 years. So he's been saying it a lot longer than that.
But the truth is, business hasn't changed. Yes, there have been a lot of changes, but ultimately for people to say that it's different, it's really not different, because it's really all about relationships and lead gen and, keeping up with the people that you want to work with.
Yeah. Technology is different. It helps in addition to, not in lieu of. Like the basics of any business is always going to work really well. And, most agents want to get away from all the basics because it's not sexy. It's not fun. You got to do it consistently every single day. Yeah. And that's where, I didn't know it at the time, but that's where my business actually grew so much, was because I came in every day and made 3 or 4 hours worth of phone calls minimum. And when I didn't have a full pipeline, I made 5 or 6 hours worth of phone calls.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. So when you look back at when you started your business to now, what do you feel were like the biggest mistakes that you've made, and what lessons have you learned from those?
Oh man, we could do a whole podcast just on all my failures and screw ups. And, when I think about that question, the number one thing that I think about is in like late 2007, I hired my first admin person that was like part-time, and I hired the cheapest person I could hire. Because when you've never had an employee before, you want to get on Craigslist and hire the cheapest hourly wage you can. And then they come in, and in about 30 days, you're really irritated because they're not actually taking things off your plate. Because one, you don't know how to train people. Nobody's ever showed me how. But if I could go back and do one thing differently, or give advice to somebody that's in that situation, go pay the most amount of money that you can possibly pay to an administrative professional to get you super uncomfortable so you can go spend an extra 2 hours a day lead generating. Those free hours don't equal freedom. Those free hours early on in your career should equal more lead generation to go justify more people that you can go help, more families you can help through more leverage.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point. I mean, because I do feel like this work-life balance is hiring someone so that I have more free time. And like you said, it's not always more free time. That free time should be used building your business,
Yeah.
especially early on, right?
If you
Maybe
want
when
it,
you're at the end of your career, it's a little different.
yeah, and
Or
it depends if you're a single parent or whatever. But for me at the
Mhm.
time, I was very set on building my business. And so I felt like, God, if I could get super uncomfortable paying somebody the most amount of money, and then I can go spend my hours shaking more hands and having more coffees and lunches, and that would be a good use of my time because that's what I'm really good at.
And so do you plan to grow your team, or are you, focused on other objectives at this point? Maybe productivity or,
Yeah.
um, you know,
Yeah, they go hand in hand. There's other things I want to do that are attached to the industry, but I
Mhm.
think to go do those things, I have to go build the business, build the team bigger. I always kind of jokingly, maybe not jokingly, but like if you want the Navy SEALs, you got to build the Navy, right? And so like,
Mhm.
our industry unfortunately is extremely high turnover. I don't know what the number is now, but historically I've always heard that like 87% of agents don't make it more than 3 years in the business.
Mhm.
And even then, most of them aren't thriving. They're not even really surviving. And I think that the market that we're in, yeah, I think we have to go build the business because I want to go build out my investment division more.
Mhm.
I want to be able to funnel, more business to more of our ancillary businesses, core businesses like title and mortgage and insurance. And those aren't things that we're necessarily all built out now. But if we go build the team more, we can go build all those more and go help
Yeah.
more people.
I mean, that is to me the future of real estate at this point is teams. And I know I asked Steve Murray, and I don't know if you know who Steve Murray
I
is. I
do.
know he's spoken at Keller several
Yeah,
times.
yeah,
If he had to start, if he had to build a brokerage today, what would he do? And he said he'd build a team, Rich.
yeah,
He'd do a team.
yeah. I
You
mean,
know,
teams are. I have several friends that own brokerages, and they call me and
Mhm.
they have all kinds of issues with the brokerage, and it's which hard do you want to pick, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
having a team is also difficult,
Mhm.
but from a profitability perspective, it makes the most amount of sense, and a team is going to support you and coach you, and the leads are there, the systems and the processes, but they're also going to hold you accountable more than a brokerage. A brokerage doesn't care if you're held accountable or show up, or they don't care if you're paying the desk fees. Like, they don't care.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying they don't really care, but it's
Right.
it's different than being on a team or a teamerage.
Yeah,
So
definitely. So you're in a super hot market. So how do you carve out your niche and kind of differentiate yourself from the competition?
I think the biggest thing, and this is probably a little bit of a generic answer, but I would say how we've built our business is we've always done what we said we were going to do and actually deliver on it, down to the little things like, oh yeah, I'll do that before the end of the day. And then, you're in bed and you're like, my word's my word. Like, you got to get out of bed and send that email. And I know that sounds silly, but like those small little things over time really allow somebody to trust you and believe that you're going to get it done. And so, there's other things I could say, like our systems are second to none. Like, I early on felt like if I have to do something more than once, we're going to have a system to it. And so our systems and processes are really strong. But I think the other thing is like, we're willing to do the super boring things that nobody else wants to do, and we're willing to do them consistently. I think more agents need to figure out how to fall in love with the process all the way through, the process of like finding the clients, the process of loving on the clients, the process of going above and beyond, whatever that means for the client. And I just think our industry really struggles with adding value, because value's different for everybody. And I think you have to ask them, and you have to figure out, what does value mean to you?
Definitely. And so how do you do that and kind of keep that culture as you grow and scale? How do you scale that specific, do you hire to that? Are you looking for certain qualities in the people that
Yeah.
you're bringing on? And
Yeah.
tell me how that works.
I think part of it is a couple of things. One, yes, we have absolute, characteristics and team values. And, for example, our number one core value at the Anderson Group in Nashville is giving, give where you live.
Mhm.
Because we feel like if you give back to the community, like that's one thing that's important to us, because the community's done so much for us. And there's other things as far as values, but we're always looking for people. Yeah, we want people that want to show up and show up early and show up on time. And we want people that work hard, because if you're not going to show up on time for us, you're certainly not going to show up on time when I give you $1 million lead. You're just not going to do it. And so I struggle with the idea that you're always late. And realtors are notorious. They're always late. Like there's always something. And so I go out of my way to be 15 minutes early everywhere we go. Like yesterday, I showed a property. I was 52 minutes early because I wanted to make sure it was it was over a $4 million listing. And I wanted to make sure all the lights were on, the doors were open. Like I wanted to make sure all the stuff was there. And my client was, 25 minutes late. So I was there for an hour and 10 minutes, which, whatever. It's like,
Mhm.
we wrote the offer, we executed the offer. Awesome. Like it's worth it. But she was, at home by herself, wrangling all the kids. And so like,
Yeah.
it just happens, but I can't be late. Like
Yeah.
I don't want her to be late either, but I just think it's, you model out those things for your agents. And the other piece is our systems are strong. Like our team is talking to our clients, not always the agent, because we want the agents to continue to be involved in the transaction, but we also want them to be in their money, like their zone of genius, and like what is going to produce money for them and their family. So we take all the busy work off their plate. So I want somebody to always be, you're either lead generating, lead follow up, you're showing houses, you're writing offers, you're negotiating offers, or you're doing a final walkthrough. Like those are dollar productive activities.
Hmm. So tell me about your systems. What are you using?
Systems wise, I mean, we use Google Suite for everything, as far as like Google Drive for all of our systems. But I think the number one thing that agents have to get better at, and we struggle with it with our agents, is just using a CRM. Like if you just put a follow-up task or 3 or 4 follow-up tasks and you bulletproof it. So like I've told my team, like, all right, use the CRM, put tasks in there, put notes in there and mention people. So we use Brevity. And then the piece is like, go bulletproof it and snooze your email or schedule send a text message. Like you can do all these things that make it so easy. Like every time I'm talking to a lead and they're like, not right now, I'll schedule send for 2 weeks out and be like, hey, checking it. And I forget that I send it. And then it like pops up in my text inbox. And I'm like, all right, we're starting this conversation over. And like, maybe nothing's happened and maybe they're still 3 months out. Nobody's going to get mad at me for just checking in. Nobody
Yeah.
gets mad for over communicating. If you have no value and you're annoying them, then yes, they do get mad. But when you provide value and you just check in, I don't think people get mad. I think they appreciate it. Some people,
Yeah.
yeah, some people get pissed off. Whatever. They're not my people though. Like I'm very
Yeah.
clear on who I work with, and who my ideal avatar or ideal client is.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think that's a very, very difficult thing for agents to do, is understand that it's not their person then, because they want everybody to be their person, right?
Yeah. Everybody knows that if you want to be everything to everybody, then you're nothing to anybody. And so,
Mm-hmm.
like, you can still work with people that aren't your ideal clients. That's fine. But just get really clear on who your ideal client is. Mine is probably on LinkedIn, and they're an executive or a business owner or a financial advisor. They're probably between 38 and 55, and they probably make 500,000 to 5 million a year. Like, I'm really clear. They're married.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're not married. They have kids. They're probably in private schools. Like, I'm very clear on, and that's not the same for everybody on our team, but that's who
Right.
my ideal client is.
Yeah. And I want to stress that that's your ideal client, not the
Correct.
only people that you will work with.
Correct. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
also have people that are referred by those people that are their
Mm-hmm.
first time home buyer niece or nephew that
Yeah.
are buying a $400,000 property.
Mm-hmm.
We want to, it's for us, it's not about the price point. It's all about the relationship. Always.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so do you see any unique opportunities in underserved markets in your area? And are you leaning into anything, I don't know, maybe different with your team?
I think there's tons of, I think in every market, this is not Nashville specific. I think the
Mm-hmm.
market of the moment is probate and expired.
Okay.
I think expireds are a huge opportunity if you're an experienced agent and you know what you're doing. I don't market to expireds.
Mm-hmm.
We do get a lot of second and third time around people because, I think they're looking for a solution at that point. And I mean, this is not rocket science, but like it's repositioning the home. It's like really giving them no BS, consultation and advice at like what you would tell your mom or your sister, right? And being honest, like the market that we're in is, and the price that you want are two different markets. It doesn't matter what you want. Like it just doesn't. And then getting better photos and getting new marketing and just a whole refresh. And then probate. I love probate because they have to sell the property. So, those are kind of the two things for me, but really like the other piece is social media. I don't think agents do a good job of social media. I don't think anybody wants to see you're just listed. I think people want to storytell and they want to dream and they want to hear like the good, bad, and ugly. Like if somebody that was listening to this went and read my LinkedIn post for the last 60 days, they would probably be kind of wow factored at the number of views and engagement that I'm getting on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn's not really a social platform. I mean, it is, but it's a networking platform and it's super boring. Agents don't use it because it's super boring. You don't get the immediate dopamine hit like you do on
Yeah.
Instagram. You just don't.
Yeah.
But I'm very transparent about like working with financial advisors and, hey, I got fired a couple weeks ago by a client and here's what
Mm-hmm.
happened. And it's not a bad thing. Everybody in this industry, if you're in it long enough, you're going to get fired by a client.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but I think the biggest opportunities for agents is let's learn to storytell better. And then the other piece I would say is I know people think it's cheating to use ChatGPT, but we've gone so hard on it. And
Mm-hmm.
I think people that aren't going to embrace it are going to get so left behind. And my thought on it is it allows me to be even more human and do more for my clients than if I wasn't using it.
So let's talk about that. So
Okay.
how are you using it specifically? And do you have any proprietary or do you just use the regular OpenAI paid subscription?
So I'm primarily using ChatGPT and it's all paid. So
Okay.
I have one for my personal that is
Mhm.
very much in my voice. And then we have one for the team. And so we're doing things like, East Nashville versus West Nashville. What are the pros and cons? A blog on that. Or it might be, you're moving from Naperville, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago. What 3 areas in Middle Tennessee would your family most likely fit into for that? Or it might be, I had a client recently, they're coming here to visit and they sent an itinerary to me. And I was like, oh my God, this itinerary that they created based on the listings that I scheduled for them. And it was breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and go look at these neighborhoods also.
Mhm.
Oh my God, it was unbelievable. And I brought it up at our team meeting. I said, guys,
Yeah.
if you can't do this, you're out of
Mhm.
business. because my client just did it in 47 seconds. Like all
Uh,
of this, a whole weekend
yeah, I've
itinerary.
used it for
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing.
yeah,
But
it is.
we're using it for, I mean, kind of everything under the sun right now. I think a lot of agents are like, oh, I'm using it for listing descriptions. I'm like, oh, that's cute. Uh, I mean, there's just so many more things that you can be using it for. It's just, it doesn't matter if it's client events, if it's, putting a course together, putting blogs together, just giving me a whole breakdown of like what our content should be versus what it is, and how often we should be posting in the different sites and how it should be different on each site. I mean, we're using the power of it to like, and then, it's not a copy and paste though. It's like, we're really feeding it. I think the big piece is you got to understand and learn prompt engineering at a high
Yeah.
level. Like if you're just using it like Google back, 6 months ago or 2 or 3 years ago,
Mhm.
then it's not really going to help you. Like I talk to mine all the time and I
Mhm.
upload stuff. It knows so much about me, my workouts, my wealth building, like all the things. So
Yeah.
the first thing that I did was I found 25 questions that ChatGPT needed to ask me, and then I went and sat down on my front porch and answered all those questions.
Yeah.
And then it was like, save all this, and now it just knows me so well. It knows my travel stuff.
Mhm.
It knows everything. So
Yeah.
I'm using it for everything, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I've used it for vacation planning, multiple times and
Yeah.
come up with and it is all about the prompt engineering, like you have to, even if you're vacation planning, you have to say, make it in a geographic way that makes sense, like keep me
Yeah.
in one district for a while, and
Yeah.
stuff. There are all
Yeah.
kinds of little things that you need to do to make it actually give you what you want. I think a lot of people
Yeah.
just say, make me a vacation itinerary for Paris, and then expect it to just come up with a perfect itinerary, and
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
never going to get that.
It
Yeah.
doesn't work that way.
No.
Yeah, it needs to learn you over time, and I think
Mhm.
everybody should be spending 20 minutes a day on it.
Yeah.
Gary V says everybody should be spending 1 hour a day on it. That's probably
Mhm.
excessive for most people.
Yeah.
But if you're 15 or 20 minutes, like learning a different little tip or trick or hack, I mean,
Mhm.
it's about to move so fast. It's already moved so fast. It's a little bit scary. And I don't think you can learn all of them. I think you just kind of layer in things. Like I would just pick two, like
Yeah.
ChatGPT and maybe Gemini or Grok,
Yeah.
and just play with those and see what different answers you get for the same questions on each of them. I have a lot of friends that they're exclusive to Grok. They love it. They love X. Um,
Mhm.
I use ChatGPT because that's the one I started with, and
Mhm.
it has learned me so well that I don't know, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. Do you have anybody in particular that you go to learn? Well, I know Keller Williams has. I'm going to be talking to Jason Abrams about their
Yep.
playbook.
Yep.
But is there anything else, any people or podcasts or coaches that you would recommend for people to learn more about how to use it?
I love that question. I don't have all the answers. There are a couple of online free resources. I can't think of the name of it. I'm happy to text it to you if you want to like connect it to the
Sure.
podcast. I listen
Mhm.
to a ton of Gary Vee because he's just like
Mhm.
nerded out on it so hard, and so
Yeah.
I listen to some of his stuff and then go play around with it. Um,
Mhm.
I'll get threads or posts on X and read stuff on like travel hacks. And
Mhm.
so I think if it's a whole nother little baby job, right? I mean, you got to
Yeah.
go find some stuff. There
Yeah.
are some people that are really good. Jason Pantana's doing a great job.
Mhm.
I don't know if he's a Tom Ferry coach. He lives
Yep.
in Nashville, actually.
Yep.
He's gone deep down it. But I think you can find a lot of information. Here's the thing that I would tell people is you got to build out a lot more content, a lot more video, a lot more YouTube. We have 1,150 5-star reviews on Google. And guess
Mhm.
what? None of these sites are pulling from Google reviews. So it's like, we spend so much time and energy building out, back in 2018, I started getting Google reviews, and we
Yeah.
are maniacal about getting our 5-star reviews. And they're not pulling. So we aren't showing up on ChatGPT like we should, or
Yeah.
like I think we should. So now we have to
Yeah.
work again. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
But it's
Definitely.
part of it. They're pulling from
Mhm.
Reddit, which I've literally never logged on. They're
Yeah.
pulling from um, expertise.com, experience.com. I mean, there's like a handful of sites, and they're like
Mhm.
Fast Expert, Zillow, a little bit of Homelight. It depends on which one, but
Yeah.
you can go do the prompt and say, where are you pulling to get your top 3 or top 5 realtors from?
Yeah.
And everybody, whatever city or town you're in, you should be ChatGPTing who are the top realtors you recommend based on whether it's top, best, luxury,
Mhm.
divorce, probate, whatever keywords you want. Like that's what you should be prompting it. And how do you go? And it'll give you a whole breakdown of like, I want a 90-day plan to know what I need to do over the next 90 days to show up in the top 3.
Well, I guarantee you that RealTrends verified ranked agents are showing up. We have city rankings as
Yeah.
well that they're launching. So I know they're highly they're doing a lot of work to make sure all of the
Yeah.
RealTrends verified folks are showing up here at
Good. I've,
HousingWire. So
I've been on
yeah.
that list for years. So
Mhm.
hopefully it'll help me
Yeah.
boost me in the right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, what's one piece of advice you'd offer your younger self when you first started in real estate?
Yeah. So my one piece of advice, I'm not going to give it to my younger self because I didn't know it at the time, but I actually was doing it at a really high level for then. It's do the basics.
Mhm.
Super boring. I know nobody wants to hear this. Gary's been saying it forever. Everybody in the
Yeah.
industry's been saying it. Like whatever your basics are, it's wake up and it's actually have a morning routine. Kick ass until noon every single day, and like time block 3 hours of lead generation. If you make 3 hours of nothing but outbound phone calls every day, your business a year from now would be whatever you want it to be. If you called luxury listings for 3 hours every day that were expired, or you door knocked, or whatever it is, and it was a good use, like no incoming calls, 3 hours of outbound calls every single day, you can do whatever you want in the afternoons. You can play golf every afternoon. You can go play
Yeah.
tennis, pickleball, whatever you want. But you probably won't be able to actually because your pipeline would be so full.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
definitely.
I think agents all know the basics. Like you need to time block, and time management super important. And I know I need to be making phone calls or shaking hands, kissing babies, whatever.
Mhm.
But they look up an hour later and they're like, "Oh crap! I just scrolled Instagram for an hour, and I didn't even comment on people. I just was like a voyeur."
Yeah.
And it happens, but you got to get really purposeful and intentional about what your lead generation game looks like that you can stick
Yeah.
to every single day. It might be as basic as like 5 text messages, 5 DMs on some platform, and then 5 phone calls.
Yeah.
Like do that for 30 days and then double it. Yeah. Doesn't have to be 3 hours, but it needs
Yeah.
to be something you can stick to every single day, 5 days a week, 45 weeks out of the year.
Yeah. And that's hard.
Yeah.
My final question is just looking ahead, where do you see, the challenges and opportunities in the industry in general?
Yeah. You said something earlier that I wholeheartedly agree with, which is I think teams are going to be so much more of a thing for a lot of people, a lot of solo agents to
Mhm.
stay in the business. Um, I think ego is getting in the way of that right now. Um, and I think that there's a false understanding of if your best year was sometime during COVID,
Mhm.
which was, by the way, everybody's best year. Um, somewhere between the 2019 and 2021, if it was your best year, yeah, but that you can't go off of that. It was an outlier year or a couple of
Mhm.
outlier years. I think the biggest opportunities and I think the biggest struggles are going to be biggest opportunity, ChatGPT.
Mhm.
Biggest struggle that every agent's going to continue to have is adding value.
Yeah. Yep.
That's I don't think ChatGPT. I think it's going to change our entire world. I'm hammering my kids right now, like guys, y'all need to spend 18 minutes a day on ChatGPT, and they're like, why 18 minutes? Because you'll be better than 95% of the entire world. 18 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Um, And then it's the adding value. How do you add value to people? Well, you have to ask them what value means.
Yeah.
You can't just call them twice a year. That might not be important to them. Like it might just be a market report. It might just be a quick text message. It might be a drop by. But you got to figure it out because it's different for every single client. We have 3,000 clients and we should be asking every one of them because we don't know the answer to all of it.
That's great advice. And it's funny because my daughter's a sophomore in college, but her freshman year in her English class, they actually taught them how to use ChatGPT, not to write their papers, but
Yeah.
for brainstorming and outlining, and taught them how to use it. So
I think it's crazy
yeah.
that there aren't more. I mean, I know there's resources out there, but like
Hmm.
nobody's. Jason Pantana actually has a course of some sort for realtors, but just like I think it has to be a tactical, like hour and a half class that you can like go do work and then go work on it for like 2 weeks and then come back. And it needs to be like a year long program, almost
Yeah.
like almost like an MBA program for ChatGPT that is
Yeah.
just so high level. The problem is it's changing so rapidly. It's crazy. So
I know it is.
yeah,
Well, Josh, thanks so much for joining the Real
yeah.
Trending podcast. Appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate the opportunity. Have a great day.
Thanks.